forward the electronic copy, or unless you want to have a copy, I can have it, big one printed out here.
All right, I'd like to call to order the property committee meeting for the September 11th, 2023. We met open meeting law requirements, Sam, we're good. We have a 15 agenda, 15 different items on the agenda.
Approve.
Motion by Doc to approve.
Second.
Second by Dave. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Everybody got the minutes from the previous meeting. Any corrections, additions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Motion by Dave.
Second.
Second by Doc. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Okay, and now we have our public comment period for 15 minutes. If anybody cares to call in, the number is 715-538-1894. 715-538-1894 if you care to call in. Give everybody a chance to call.
We could move on pending calls.
We'll just give them 1 minute in case somebody was in a hurry then. I think, yeah, it doesn't. Well, we'll keep it open for we'll keep it open for 15 minutes, but we'll move on. And so next up is Samuel Group's building project. Update on plans.
All right, morning, everyone. I guess the first thing that I want to cover is I handed you a review set of documents. This is the set that will be put out for bid for the renovation of the balance of the campus. So to kind of give you an idea of our schedule for what we plan to do, we want these drawings to be on the street for bidders to see the 19th of September, which is next Tuesday. So I'm giving them to you now for you to review over this next week. If you have any questions or changes that you would like to have made before we put it on the street, please let us know. Even if you don't get it to it by the 19th, we will have addendums that are going to be going out from a bidding perspective. But I would like you to look into the documents. If there's changes or things you want tweaked, please let us know. So the schedule would be, it would be on the street by the 19th of September. We would have a pre-bid meeting here at the county on October 4th. We will have addendums that would be due on October 10th, and then we would have bids due on October 19th. So then we would be bringing the bid summary to you after we receive them on the 19th. So we'll have to talk about maybe a special meeting date there the following week. But this is the review set. If you would like to have them electronically, let me know and I can email them to you so that you can download the PDFs and review them. I only printed out a mini set so that you didn't have a large set of plans. So if you guys would like an electronic copy, please let me know. But that's kind of our schedule so that we can be consistent with having bid numbers back before we wrap up the Justice Center. So,
How do you feel about bids? Is there people out there? There always is, I guess.
yeah, I can see that the last couple projects that we've bid, we had coverage on all categories except for two. And the timing of what we're looking at right now, I think will probably help us getting some winter work for people. So can't guarantee we'll have full coverage, but we're definitely going to do everything we can to generate the interest from contractors. So I do expect that all the contractors that are working here will provide us a number and then hopefully find some other ones as well. So that's the update on the renovation. Last time when we met, we had our special meeting to talk about the items ready for preparation for an occupancy of the new Justice Center. So after we went back and reviewed the documents, we believe we've got documentation in our plan set that covers the paging and fire alarm system. The one element that we're gonna have to do in a CB will be a couple of phone lines for the elevator, so we're working out the details of that. So that is underway in regards to a CB perspective. And then we are working on pricing for a CB for some of the structural finalizations for the connection. I know the structural engineer is working on getting those items done, so those are underway. So there's nothing to review today in regards to change orders because we don't have the pricing back on those CBs. And then the last piece is that obviously we're still targeting that end of October for our substantial completion of the Justice Center. So, and I think you guys we went through it before. We're gonna have a couple of months of shakedown and occupancy of the building taking place after the first of the year. So,
We felt when we went through, or at least some of us did, that it was questionable those dates, but you think they're
so
gonna happen?
you're a doubter too?
I wasn't, somebody else mentioned it.
Yeah, no, like I'd explained to David, it'll come together quickly. Again, remember that after the end of October, there's still gonna be testing and balancing, but substantial completion means that, for the most part, all those elements are done and we're finalizing some of the details during that testing and training piece, so.
Thank
yeah.
you.
The one piece that is up for consideration is what do we do with the blacktop? And maybe we can talk about that now. There will be binder course, and they were talking about finish course. Sometimes owners will make the decision to just put binder down for the first year and then come back in the spring and put the finish course on. So you go through a first cycle of winter and then you have, rather than it getting beat up right away with that year and with us being that close to the end. So it would be blacktopped, it would just not have finish coat on it. Some owners will make a choice on that. So something to think about whether we want to do both courses or if we want to just do binder for the first year.
You're talking the parking lots.
Blacktop, yeah.
Yeah. Binder's a good idea because you let everything settle. The only
Yep.
downside is it's a little tougher to plow.
Yep.
You chip
guess
up
you
your
know,
concrete.
It gets beat up in your first winter, so some owners will say, let's just put the first layer down, come back and finish it up. We can do it either way. Just
How
something to think about.
How thick is that binder? How deep? How thick?
I think the total is 4 inches. I think the first lift is 2.5, and then they come back and do the 1.5 inches at the second one. I'll have to confirm that, but I believe
So
that's
2.5 is the first.
Yeah, correct.
Tim, they put a binder down on that 2 blocks in Blair, I think. Isn't that a binder there? You remember?
Not my circus.
Well, you live there. You live there. I didn't get over to measure it, but it looks like they put down 4 inches. And then they're going to have that tractor pull on that, this year.
They want it built for permanent tractor pull.
Well, I think
Put 4 inches
they
down
hope
at
they don't
once.
tear it up in the process.
You can't, you don't get the compaction. It's too much to compact.
Pardon?
You can't put 4 inches down at once. You don't get the compaction. They'll usually put 2.5.
2.5 is standard.
They'll
Yeah.
2.5 and it'll compact to 2 or 2 3/4, compact to 2 1/4.
Okay. Well, maybe that's
and
what
the base is going to be
correct.
usually a bigger stone, not as much fines,
Yep.
give you a little more strength, and then the top mat will be more of a sealed mat.
Yeah.
A little more fines in it.
So not a decision that needs to be made today, but just kind of throw it out there for you. So you'll see that the site work's going in, site concrete's going around the perimeter of the buildings, topsoil start coming in, seating will be following that, so. About all I have, kind of a brief update. I guess the biggest point of emphasis would be, please look at the drawings. If you don't have any comments, that's fine. If there are comments that you want to have made, and I guess Jeremy and Tim will definitely be looking at it, because I know they've been in communications with the engineers. But that would be our bid timing, is get it out on the street next Tuesday, pre-bid on the 4th of October. Addendum would be on the 10th, and then bids would be mid-October on the 19th.
You have, do the department heads get an electronic copy of this just so they can?
I did not issue it. I just got this on Friday, so I can send it to all the department heads as well.
Do you think that's a good idea, you guys?
Yeah, I think so. Just to confirm that.
So they can look at it if they find anything.
Could we maybe go through this a little bit more? I mean, there's a lot of detail here, Kurt.
Yep.
Give us a little bit of a schooling on,
Sure.
okay, this is what we're looking at when it comes to what's going to change, or is there a legend somewhere? I'm sure there is. And then what were the options? Are there different options presented in here? Like we're phase 1, phase 2, phase
So-
3, or?
The phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, there is a spec book that comes along with this, and we're gonna be developing that spec book before next Tuesday that's gonna break up phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Essentially, the way we're breaking this up is there's gonna be one phase that is the north annex, there's gonna be another phase that's second floor, and there's gonna be another phase that's first floor. That's how we're breaking this up from a bidding perspective, with the intention that you can pick and choose in regards to which ones you do, sequencing wise, okay? The legend that you're referring to, if you look at the cover sheet, it's gonna give you a description of each one of the sheets that are in there. So obviously, general is just giving you some code requirements, life and safety plan under that first category that's there. The second column there is architectural, and if you look under the architectural, you'll see that there is demolition plans for the first 4. So A010 down to A013 is gonna show you all the areas where there's demolition, okay? And then the balance of these, if you look from A101, there's first floor, the basement floor plans, the first floor plans, second floor plans, and then you're gonna start to get into details where it's gonna give you details of the finishes, details of the doors, details of the interior elevation. So you get a general section that talks about codes, you're gonna get into your architectural drawings. The structural is really the lintel plans, because there isn't much renovation in regards to structural pieces here. Plumbing is the next category, which is all of your P drawings. That's gonna give you both demolition and obviously the new work for your plumbing. The mechanical that's identified there, it's gonna show you the demolition as well as the HVAC and both the ductwork and the piping on your mechanical piece. And then your electrical is broke out into a couple of components. You got your standard power, and then you got your telecommunications. So your telecommunications are gonna be under all your T drawings. The electrical are gonna be what's under your E drawings. So if you wanna flip to page A010, you'll see that the areas that are highlighted are the demolition. So you'll see the colored areas that show the walls where the walls are gonna be removed or casework is being removed. And again, this was an attempt to minimize the amount of demolition. So on A010, it's gonna be the demolition that's identified for the first floor. A011 is the demolition that's on the second floor. So you'll see that there's limited demolition that's in there. Next one is gonna show demolition of the ceilings that are gonna come out in those same areas because there's a reconfiguration of those walls. And then if you move on to A103, that's gonna show you your first floor layout. So that gives you your new layout in regards to what that floor is gonna look like. So the demolition plan aligns with what that first floor plan is gonna look like.
So where does it talk about what's gonna be added? So I get the demolition, but is this what we're looking at, what's gonna be added then? It's hard to know.
Yeah, what you end up having to look at is if you go back to the demolition side where you'll see where they took the walls out, the way you have to tie the two together. So let's go to A101. A010. You'll see that, just use this top corner piece up here. You'll see this piece here where it shows the demolition. Let's use the corridor that's right outside of land management right now. You'll see that down below, those walls stayed where that's gonna be veterans. And then on the north side of that, you'll see where that corridor connection comes through there. Probably harder to see on this smaller set of drawings where you can't zoom in to see what's dimension that's there.
Yeah, I mean, I see, right. But it's not really clear until you study it real hard what new walls are gonna be put up.
A103 probably will give you a better feel of it, Dave. If you look at the ones that are the dark walls that don't have the two lines, the dark walls are the ones that remain. The lighter walls, that corridor that I just showed you can see the walls that are determined where there's a line on each side, that's a new wall. So the ones that are dark in color, those are remaining walls.
So the ones that do not have fill color are the new wall.
Are new walls, correct. Yep.
Okay.
So, and if when you guys get into this, if you have questions about it when you're starting to review it, you can let one of us know, whether the design team or one of my team members, we can show you that. But again, this was the limited approach. So you're not gonna see a ton of renovation in there. Try to utilize as many existing walls as possible. Like if you look on that first floor plan on the right-hand side of the east wing, there's very limited changes in regards to that on those walls over there. So, but again, when you get into it, just let us know. And if you
Yeah.
wanted to do a virtual meeting with one of us, we can do that as well.
Now, how soon do you need that information or that,
Well, the plans are gonna go out on the 19th, so what we have is a pre-bid on October 4th, where we have bidders come in, and bidders then are gonna come in and ask us some questions about the documents. And after that, when we get their questions, we will issue an addendum. And what the addendum will do is sometimes we'll make some changes to the plans for clarification of the documents. So really, your deadline that we would need from you guys would probably be October 4th. is the date. Yeah. So, gives you a little bit more time.
so we can get that information to the trailer out there or to?
Yeah, you can give it to Tad out there, or if you want to email it to me, however you want to do it.
Okay.
Maybe you want to give it to Sam, she likes more data, and then she could send it. And she could send it to me, however you want to get it to us.
Do you guys have an estimate to what this would cost?
Well, the last time we did this, if we did all of it, we were thinking it's between 3 and 4 million. How we break this up depends on how much work we do. So,
Yeah, so, but if you did the whole thing, that's where you land.
correct. So again, there will be a spec book that will obviously define scope of work for each one of these categories that are in there. It'll be broken up into multiple bid categories. So it's going to be bid just like we do the Justice Center, where we'll have multiple bidders and categories that were there. We do have one general package that we're probably going to allow a contractor to combine more to see if there's savings in there, at least give them some opportunity to bid it multiple ways. So that's about all I have for the update today on my end. Stick around.
Yeah, this is a lot to absorb in a short period
No.
of time.
I need to know. They're
So,
not asking the question.
does anybody have anything else for Kurt?
May I address the chair?
Sure.
The previous proposal, there was a department that was being moved into the south courtroom, and
Oh.
you had asked for
Sorry.
what the difference would be before flipping them.
Good point. Yep, we do have UW Extension up on second floor, and we've had land management down in the old sheriff's office, where there will be no work in the sheriff's office that was there. And the savings to be able to make that swing was about $250,000. So, was an estimate.
So you assumed probably correctly that you did the right thing in putting them
Yeah.
where they are.
Yeah, that's substantial.
Yep.
Just keep that in mind.
Garrett, where's the basement on the, where it shows all of these? Am I missing that?
I think it's just before the first floor. It's on the A10. Basement floor level is A102.
Yep.
And we're really not doing a lot of work in the basement.
A102?
Yeah,
That shows the basement.
basement.
This section is basement.
The only thing we're really addressing down here is some HVAC requirements for the TV studio, is all that's really being addressed down here. There's no renovation to this space down here at all.
And neither on the other side?
No, correct.
Okay.
And Kurt, in the plans we have, when that gets completed, there should be no issues with the TV moving over there. They should have everything.
Well, they worked with Kevin in regards to how the connection will be with the county boardroom. Now, I'm sure there'll be bugs we have to work out, but that has been coordinated.
Okay,
So,
just wanted to make sure. All right, does anybody have anything else for Kurt?
Jeremy, Tim, you guys need anything from me before I leave?
Jeremy?
I'm not that the team isn't aware of. I still need to know on that fire panel and then the elevator connections.
Yes.
Where's the Cat 6 going?
That's the
I-
CD that's coming out.
Well, I verified this morning that it went back to the second floor closet.
Okay.
So they went to the nearest closet, so I'm gonna either have to have the phone company come into the second floor closet, which,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna have to patch it down through to the
Okay.
MDF.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Kurt, appreciate it. Okay, next up, IT department. Tim, you got the floor.
Okay, so the last time we met a couple weeks ago, one of the issues outstanding was the connecting phones to the elevators as per requirement and to the fire panel. I think elevators, they've run cable from the top of the elevator shafts back to the second floor wiring closet, which either I'll work with the provider on the phones to run the connection up to that second floor, since it's going to probably involve some sort of appliance to connect those analog lines into the rest of the world. Or we'll patch it down to the first floor closet. Either way, it looks like we're in the running there. I don't have to do any additional stringing of cable. I still haven't gotten an answer as to whether the fire panel has a Cat 6 connection going to it that's available for us to use for a phone line, and then what the fire code rules are governing what a fire panel alarm cable has to do. I'm not a fire panel expert, so I don't know, but Tad and Eric and Kurt are working on getting me an answer on that, but I don't have one yet. I will, when I do have final verification on that, I'll just email all of you to let you know where we're at status-wise, because it was your involvement that got this kicked, so thank you for that. We are connecting the main data closet in B1050 is connecting back to our main data closet in the basement. The conduit is in place. We supervised that work last week. We're going to have 48 strands pulled soon, so we'll be able to connect the two buildings in what essentially is going to be a double star pattern. So the main closet in the new Justice Center will distribute signal out to all the data closets to connect to all the computers, and then the main data closet here will distribute to the two data closets in this building, and be a star over here, and then we'll connect the two and the whole thing should work. We are scheduled to meet with contractors, or not contractors, our primary networking vendor sometime this week to go over how to do the design work on all the switches and configure it so that it all works. We've never done it before where we're running the two primary networks on the same hardware. It used to be the sheriff's department stuff is one, and then the courthouse stuff that's non-law enforcement is another, and then we have a third one, which is the state. So we're going to be merging two of them together, and so we have to do some configuration work to make sure we're meeting CJIS requirements on that. So it is going to get a little tricky, and we're going to be having to switch over from our existing core network over to the new core network once we get into the new building. Faxing. The fax lines, we have 16 analog lines that are being pared down to 15 lines, and we are going to be going to a hosted solution called MFax. Those numbers will port over on September 26th, so all the fax machines will stop after that. And then I'm currently working with individuals throughout the organization. We've got phone lines coming into this building since the 80s, and I can't see all the bills and see all, so there's phone lines that are mysteries that we don't know, and our PBX that is sitting in the first floor closet that Convergent Technologies put in back in 2005, we're going to be shutting that down in October, and I'm just letting you know there might be shenanigans because we have unknowns.
So rephrase that a little bit. Shenanigans, you mean there could be somebody's phone line that all of a sudden stops working. They're
Exactly.
like, oh, yes, you need to convert to the new system.
Yeah, that is a known unknown. We know something's going to happen when we unplug that. We just don't know what, because there's so many different lines going so many different places, and it's just it's a rat's nest. And so once we turn that PBX off, we're doing our level best to make sure that we've verified every single thing. Most of it is related to dispatch. There's a TDD line in there, there's an overflow line in there. We have to make sure that the 911, when we have to transfer 911 functions up to Osseo or over to Jackson, we have to know that PBX wasn't involved in that transaction. So there's a lot of work to be done there to make sure when we power that off. Because support for that product ends in October. The SIP that we used to run all the phone lines previously, that contract expires in October, and we won't be continuing that. So that's all good. I'm pretty excited about that. Saves me about $400 a month on my phone bill, so it's good for me.
You mean that there's other bills that will be stopped as well then?
Yeah, 2 of the fax lines don't go through the SIP, and those are being paid at, I think it's like $80 a month for those 2 apiece for those 2 lines. One goes into ADRC and one goes into dispatch, and both of those are going to get converted as well. So in addition to the $450 a month SIP I'm paying for, we'll also be dropping those. The fax solution going forward is estimated to cost around $180 a month. So it comes out about even to get everybody moved over. Well, it's actually a net positive, but that'll be coming entirely out of my budget next year, as it is. I've already included that in my budget, that I'll be paying for all the fax lines. If you should decide that in the future, once we get it all figured out, because naturally we want to eliminate services that are unnecessary. If not all these lines or all these pages are required, we'd want to reduce that amount. You may want to look at chargeback system in the future, where like the clerk's office likes, they're very good at doing chargebacks, so that if there's third parties that can be reimbursing us, we can do that. So we can set that up going forward once we know how it's gonna go a little more.
Excuse me, Tim, I don't want
Go
to
ahead.
cut you off, but the judge has to leave at 9 o'clock. The next thing on the agenda is the screening policy. That's what he's here for. And I think it's important that we hear what he feels about the screening
I
policy.
will yield,
And
Chair.
Is that okay? Thank you, Tim. So you can, if you want to address the.
And I don't have anything really to add. I was just more of kind of following along where things are at, where things are presently at with the discussion and things. And there's also another item, timeline for department moves to the new building. Also, we've been involved in meetings with that as well. So those are the ones that I was kind of here to kind of keep an eye on or
That's
see
too
what's
bad.
happening.
Too bad you didn't speak up when Kurt was here, because then he could have gave you a better.
Well, I think
Handle on
I
that.
think what Kurt's gonna say is it all depends on the project and how it's, the scope that we put together goes
That's
to
what
bid,
Joe-
and when they come back, what are we
Do
gonna
we
do
do we meet
first?
again Wednesday?
Yeah, and they did send out we do have a document that was created that has all the dates on it. I don't know if that's been forwarded on to you guys.
And we've been meeting with Kurt Schleicher and his group, not Kurt Werner, on that. And we have some timeframes that are loosely set, but are firming up as time kind of goes forward and confirming that things will be completed by a certain time frame.
Yeah.
So
But
those are the topics that I was.
But now, the court system won't be moving until the jail is functional, will it?
That's correct.
Yeah, because otherwise it would be just a headache, having to move people back and forth from one section to the other.
Right. I think that's the plan, that they're going to give a lengthy period of time to make sure everything is in place and consistent with their requirements before then we go to the next phase of getting the court system going and everybody over there. So
Because I think your office will have to play in part of those roles, role playing, and how do we move inmates from a courtroom to the jail, and they have to approve all that, right?
correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
so.
And we've taken those timeframes in account, as well as like IT things and completion and of different areas, and so we have some timeframes. I don't know.
But they said the last meeting, if I'm not mistaken, that January 8th or something, like right around that first part of the year is when they hoped to have that done, right?
That's still the case.
It's still the target date.
And that's seeming like it's the more we meet and it's still that's the date. It seems like we're getting more firm that that's going to be the date. So
You gotta finish it out first.
Yeah, the networking elements have to be in place and tested prior to them going and testing their solution. So the jail is a self-contained network, so the control of the doors of the facilities and all that is built into the security system. They own all the switches, they connect everything, it's a closed loop. But in order for the courts to function, they will need our network up and they'll need CCAP's network up and tested. So those are the things that could delay any plans they have for their testing and trial runs. So we have to make sure that we stay on target for those. So we'll try and keep you informed if there's any changes to the framework. We believe we can meet the timelines that have been placed. I haven't had a chance to really hammer through it in detail with my staff, but we think we can handle that. And we'll know more after this week when we meet with the consultant to verify their availability, because there's a lot of complexity being added to this new core network, and we want to make sure we do it right. So if they're not available to pull it off in a certain time frame, I would let you know right away. But it looks like we're going to be on target.
Well, I would assume that date's important because you'll have to deal with the court schedule during that moving phase.
Yeah, and we're already scheduling court around that time frame, and so we're already anticipating either limited scheduling around that time frame.
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, that'll help. If there are a couple bugs, at least it gives you a little leeway there, you know.
And that's why we've been wanting to meet on it earlier to get that, because we're already scheduling there, and so we need to know which time frame do we need to limit our scheduling. And sort of hoping that then everything else aligns to that we actually do the move that same time frame. So.
And I mean, we can choose which phase we do first on the renovation, and I don't think we're planning on doing the courts first over here, right? Because we're gonna do this side where the clerk is and all that first.
Yeah, they're going to do
Some of it's gonna have to get looked at though, because land management has to go or someone needs to go where the courts are. So if it's UW Extension or whatever it is, and then Health Department as well. And the courts are, the current courtrooms will have substantial changes to make before they can be occupied as office spaces. So whether he has that as phase one or not, that will be when he brings in that book. But that's what I'm thinking.
phase one's got to be coming through land management now, because they got to widen that hallway and you got to make that connection.
Well, that connection's part of that, no, not part of this.
That's part of this.
Well, that connection's ready to be made now, starting, I think, next week.
Right, but you don't have the hallway. They got to move that whole wall. Because I was asking Kurt, how are you gonna connect this? He showed me that it's set up to make the offices towards the quick trip side smaller and make the hallway.
Where the UW Extension angle is.
Right.
Correct.
So, but there will be not much in where land management is on the left side there. That'll stay the same.
Yeah,
So it'll be a lot of
Now, for emergency hearings, you just have to deal with the conditions you have, basically, I imagine.
If the inmates and everybody are over there, we have to have court over there. We wouldn't be able to even stay over here.
Well, we always have to keep that in mind. Make sure you're always in the loop with that whenever, Kurt. What is your feelings on the screening policy? Do you have anything? We've talked about that every time too.
I feel like I've given my impressions on it, and I was just more of kind of seeing where you guys landed or where things are at.
We haven't landed yet. We're still out there.
I thought we partially landed, didn't we?
We're to a point, yeah. It's still in discussion. I mean, don't bother me how you guys decide, but
Well, I think it's still the idea that everybody coming in would be screened. That's where we had left it last, I think.
that was kind of what everybody agreed. Everybody's going to get asked to come through there.
But the hours of screening have not been established.
That's
Right.
That was the big part.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we had talked about a little bit, starting a little bit earlier, but that was about it.
Yeah, because the sheriff said that he could accommodate like 7 o'clock with his staff, and it wouldn't be that much of a hassle. He said so.
Overtime.
Right. Start one early and then have one work late, and it should, without putting a lot of overtime into it, we should be able to function. but we haven't come to that. But I just didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add to it.
I don't have anything to add from what I previously said.
Okay.
I would just say that it'll be approximately 4 months to the day that's gonna be open to the public. And so to have that after hours policy of when the hours are gonna be and what, sort of that policy in place in advance of the 4 months. The clock's ticking.
Yes, and that's
as you're aware. I'm sure.
that was kind of our discussion last time. What we've talked about a lot, but we've got to get something in place before you get there. Yeah, I most definitely agree.
And I
We all
think-
agree in that.
I think our stumbling block has been more with employees who find a need to come in at different hours. That seemed to be the difficult thing. I think we just kind of leave it that they would be able to, but there wouldn't be screening if they're coming in.
And I think we just set a policy and go with it. And if we have to tweak it a little bit here later after a year, we
Yeah.
find out, oh, we need this or we don't need this. And you can always tweak it down the road, but at least get something down so that you have something there to go by. And we can always work with it. It might be a little work in progress for a year, but we should definitely have something down packed.
I got a suggestion. I know nobody likes the creation of a subcommittee, but I think I mentioned this last time when I talked on the topic. Is there's a lot of different departments that have needs that we don't know. Like I don't know, and the committee doesn't necessarily know. Would it be fruitful to have a couple of department heads, particular ones that we would think that would be the ones coming in at various different hours, and maybe a committee member on there, and just try to meet one time and put together a policy to bring back to the next committee meeting to consider, as opposed to sort of putting something together and then fixing it later. You know what I mean?
There's always another option. I mean, it's good to hear them. This way you can take them all in and say, okay, this is what we're going to try.
I don't know if we heard from all of the departments, but we had a couple departments that came and addressed us 2 months ago on their
Yeah.
concern for after-hours access. And I think that's where we had the discussion about, well, as long as everybody's got their badge and the badges are given appropriate timelines for what those departments need based on what the department head says, then we would allow after-hours access, but it would be by individual. And Jeremy, you have the keys to that, right, so to speak?
Yep.
On who gets that, so, I think that's where we landed. So we just need to formally write that
I
up.
would say it sounds like it just needs to be written up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Well,
Not it.
I think it might be appropriate if we could name the departments that would need to have access, and maybe follow the suggestion the judges made to have a few people get together and discuss their needs and maybe come up with suggestions to bring to this committee.
When's the next department head meeting?
Late October?
End of October, you said?
All right. So I didn't wanted to give you a
Yeah.
chance to talk before we had to go.
Yeah.
So-
appreciate it.
I could email the department heads and just say, Jeremy has the current employees that have 24/7 access, right?
Well, pretty much if you have a badge that opens the front door, you have 24/7 access.
Okay.
Board members to the hallway.
So if you're gonna modify that policy, you would need to update that. So we would need
Yeah, I
department
would need
heads
to
to
update
submit
it.
those that need 24/7
I
access.
need to update the program, but I can look through on my trends too, and I can tell you which departments access this building
No.
on the regular after hours, which for the most part, it's gonna be human services, dispatch, sheriff's department. There's an occasional IT that comes in on nights or on the weekends, maintenance. There's Sue from time to time from the judge's office comes in after hours or on the weekends. So there's usually at least one person, but majority is human services and law enforcement.
I think our point was, we wanted to restrict it as much as possible without undue burden on any department. So having the department heads decide, hey, no, this person really needs to have this access, then we would all know then who's got it, so.
And that'd be pretty interesting to get a history of it,
Yeah.
to see exactly who does need it and who doesn't, or who uses it and who doesn't. So kind of give us a framework of who do we have to look at, what different division we have to look at, and who doesn't need it. So if you could get us that maybe for the next meeting, it'd be interesting. If you
I
could,
could
Jeremy.
break it down by department, maybe not so much individual.
No, but departments would be good.
Well, should we suggest having a department head meeting specifically for that topic? And then Jeremy could bring that information to them and they could say, okay, here it is, and we all agree, and here's what our policy is gonna be, and have a policy written up that we could look at next month.
Yes.
Is late October for that meeting acceptable?
I think
October 25th is the next department head meeting.
Yeah. Would that work?
Then we would have to, we would look at it in November, our November property meeting.
because
And push
But
them
we-
to show
if
that
you
gives
write
us
the
another
policy in
month to
advance-
finalize it. So we gotta get going.
So who's writing the policy?
Somebody on the department head group would have to agree to writing it, or we dictate it.
When will we have court counsel?
October. We have contracted corp counsel right now, and I don't think that'd be a good use of contracted labor.
October 2nd.
October 2nd, the new person starts, so plenty of time.
Put her right to work, right?
Well, we have.
Corp counsel only dictates if policy is legal. Your HR person would have to create that.
Ta-da.
And as of today, that's me.
That's why I've been looking at you, Tim. Well, lead this one up. Bring all the groups together and say, let's write this up.
It's reasonable to expect corp counsel, though, to assist in drafting resolutions, ordinances, and policies, though, too.
I'm not gonna ship that out to
Not just the
to
review.
contracted labor. I'll just pass that to the new one on the 2nd.
Yeah, well, we've got time to bring the new one into the fold. You
Do
know,
we have an
if get
existing
this
building
started
access
now.
policy?
Do we have someone hired to come in for council?
Yeah, she's great. SharePoint.
It's gonna be a
Yeah.
few weeks, because there's only one person in HR right now. Everybody else is on vacation or not here, so that will not be
Like I
happening.
said, as long as we're looking at this, because I think around come November is when I want to be sitting down going through the learning phase of the new system over there and trying to.
It'll be finalized by October 25th. There's no way we can wait
thank you.
beyond
Thank you,
that.
George.
Okay.
Okay, you guys want to go back to Tim or finish this discussion, or this way they can leave if they have to. We can go back. Tim, do you want to finish up? Thanks, Tim, for letting us.
Yeah, no
jump ahead of you.
problem. Where were we? Oh, we're working on we're gonna do a request for proposals on the print services contract that ends in February of next year. I've already gotten a preliminary bid from the existing vendor that shaves $6,000 a quarter off of that bill. We're dramatically reducing the number of devices in the organization. And so hopefully in an RFP, we might explore that and get further savings, of which a third would have to go to the guy I'm contracting with. But that is a rather lengthy lift with all the different paperwork and data they need to make that work. So I'm working on that right now. There are concerns about how we're going to connect WTCO to the new county boardroom. There is no direct connection between that new space and down here, and it appears Kevin has looked into it, and they would want the TriCaster to connect directly back to here rather than going through a multiple patch panel variation. So we may have to when we verify that that is exactly what Kevin needs, we might have to get a quote to run some cable from that new county boardroom closet, which has ample amounts of connection drops to the new data center. We may have to add one to run it down through to here, but we're not going to do anything until we know what's going to happen to the connections that are currently coming out of here for WTCO, because the conduit runs through some spaces that are going to get demoed.
Yeah, for one wall.
So we might be revisiting how we connect WTCO to the whole organization at that point. we currently have a lot of equipment sitting in the ceilings down here that it doesn't belong. So we really need to look at that in its entirety, and hopefully before we next meet, we would have some answers for you on that. But yeah, Jeremy and I will probably be addressing that in the next couple weeks.
That's my next 2 months is going through everything, ceilings, walls, and everything else for that stuff.
And I am reaching out to department heads to let them know that now things are going to start getting, I mean, they're used to quality service from their IT department. I have a great staff. They address help desk issues as quickly as they can, and I think they do a pretty good job at it. But we're going to start doing triage. We have enough projects in front of us the next 6 months that we're going to have to tell some people no. So we've already put the word out that, you know, if you need to move a person from one space to another, if it's absolutely necessary for the function of the county for this to happen, we will accommodate that. But if it's just to move because somebody wants to go into a larger space or wants their desk to face a different way, we're going to ask that you just table that for now. So I wanted you to be aware as the oversight committee for us that we are going to start addressing things a little differently, and some of the service levels might drop a little bit, and we're sorry about that, but these projects have deadlines that are going to be difficult to meet, and I have to make sure we can accommodate.
Yeah, they have to understand that this is a whole new time when we start moving over, that it's not gonna be as smooth as you always have it running, so people gotta be understanding there. There's gonna be a little bit of disruption.
Yeah, I get to make the same speech to personal and bargaining about HR, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and just an FYI, to piggyback on that, maintenance did kind of the same thing with the departments about kind of putting a curve on moving stuff around for fun, you know, just because they want to move around. If it's necessity, something like that, we'll accompany that, but if it's just shifting for shifting, then it's something that needs to be addressed separately.
Well, it would seem like this is not a smart time to do any shifting to speak of, unless it's a real urgent, like you're suggesting. And I think you suggested that too. It just, you know, with the fact that everybody's going to be moving into different slots, basically, why would you need to move unless it is an emergency? So I think you guys are absolutely right in suggesting that people not ask for too much.
Patience, we're gonna have to have patience for a while.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's like building a new garage when you're gonna sell your house. You know, you don't build a new garage, you sell your house and then you worry about a garage later, so.
All right, Tim, you have anything else?
nope,
I
that
got
should be
one
enough.
Do you have any
question for Tim.
questions?
Oh, I do have something else.
Who's the name of the company that we had contracted with to start looking at our bills and all that?
Oh,
Where are we at
The
with
phone
that?
bills?
It was everything. It was all kinds of stuff.
Spyglass, they
Yeah.
basically reported they can find us no savings.
Really?
We were already at rock bottom prices on our cell phones and our phone lines.
they didn't make much money for themselves, then, did they?
No.
Then
So-
they tried to sell a go green thing that they also do to make you more energy efficient. They tried.
So 2 things. Shucks. Number 2, good job.
Yeah, kudos. Kudos to you guys.
Well, Paul's office deserves a lot of credit there. They're the ones who got all the numbers together. They put all the bills together. They took care of that whole part of that process. I brought them in because they were a very persistent salesman. So I finally put them in front of decision makers, but it's Paul's office that did the execution on that to make sure that they got everything they needed. And the answer was a pretty, nope, you're good. So,
All right.
and then I do have something.
You got one more?
Okay. In the spirit of the budget process as it is, I have adjusted it again. There were 2 items I highlighted in my budget. One line item was about $25,000 a year for maintenance on the Vesta system. And then there's another line item for about $25,000 a year that is payment on the 911 trunks. And I have verified that with AT&T, if we get this grant awarded to us in October, that the one cost will drop from $25,000 down to nothing next year, because that first year of support and maintenance on that equipment is included. And if we go to that equipment in March or April, I wouldn't have anything to pay next year. And two, the other one with the phone trunks, the new EZNet that we're getting from AT&T is being paid by the state. So I will no longer have the $25,000 a year in line fees, 911 trunk fees. So I'm only budgeting about $6,000 for that to get me through the first 4 months of the year.
Forever, or?
Well, as of right now. So I don't know, call your state legislator and say thank you for finally doing something smart. It is, 911 lines are really a big pain in a local government's backside, and if you can coordinate a cost-effective contract with AT&T to deliver services, thank you, and keep doing more of this. I mean, why keep forcing all the costs down to the local level when you can provide required services that are required by state law? Why aren't you paying for more of that? So that's good news. So I am taking that out of my budget when I meet with the budget committee. They may ask that I put it back in, because if we don't get the grant, I am going to have to do that. But the budget will actually go up quite a bit more, because if we have to move that old equipment out of dispatch, that's going to cost us tens of thousands, $40,000, $50,000 to do that.
Will we know the answer on that grant by the budget time?
October is what I'm told. And
Mid-October or something?
Yeah.
So we won't know by the time we have the budget done.
Correct. If I felt like I'm going to check with some people and find out if pressuring your local assembly people and your state senator to get a favorable report to the people awarding the grant, if that will actually help, I'm going to find out, and then I'll let you know to give Treg a call and whoever, I can't remember our state senator.
We have heard
Smith.
rumor that we need to find some money somewhere. We heard rumor of that as a budget.
Yeah, but it's more than what Tim is bringing.
No, every dime I know.
Well, because this grant, it does feel perfect for us because we are moving to a new space. This makes that move infinitely easier. It allows them to set up and test before they move. It allows us to leave the old stuff to die where it lives instead of having to pick it up and move it and make it work in order to replace it the next year.
That all makes sense.
It's huge. So if reaching out to legislators can work, I'm recommending it. But I don't know if if the grant people would be like, well, to heck with them if they're sigging Trey Bronczynski on me. I don't want to deal with that. But maybe it helps. I don't know. We'll find out.
It never hurts to nudge him a little bit.
Well, this grant would be a huge opportunity for us to really move forward and save a lot of money and get caught up with the rest of the space on that. Dispatch would be happy. That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, next we got Jeremy.
I don't have a lot this month at all. So like I said, I mentioned earlier that I kind of was on the same page as Tim. I talked to departments about moving. Started ordering some of the stuff that I need for this new building, trying to find places to stage it, because some of it we tried to stage it to get shipped later, but it's showing up quite a bit earlier than anticipated. Garbage cans, picnic tables, all that kind of stuff. But we should have everything that we need in place before the building opens up. Biggest project that I'm working on right now is for still trying to schedule the timing for the move of this generator. Still set for the 6th and the 7th of October, but then trying to coordinate with the existing LP tank company to get that one out of the way, plus the LP pumped out of that tank into the new tank. And then looking at my budget-wise, the new LP tank quite a bit larger than what I was anticipating from what I was told earlier in the year. I'm going from a 500-gallon current tank to a 5,200-gallon tank. So I am not banking on filling that 100% by the end of this year. I currently have
Emergency backup or something?
That's emergency backup for the boilers for the building. It's mostly emergency. It's when we get curtailed from the gas company. So it's a handful of times. I've been here 9 years. I think I've been curtailed 5 times. But if we don't get curtailed, then the one time that's happened when my vaporizer here failed, I ran under curtailment still on natural gas, and my bill was like $6,000 for 4 days for natural gas because we couldn't run on the LP at the time. So this, right now, when I run off the 2 boilers that I have off of LP, I burn about 300 gallons every 2 days. Now I'll have 5 boilers running So that's why they went with a bigger tank. But I have right now about 300 gallons in my current tank, and I have a $3,200 credit with the LP company, so I plan on putting in a little bit more and probably putting about 2,000 gallons into that tank for now, and then putting some more in as needed for the next year. But that coupled with the current LP tank feeds those boilers and the generator. The new building, the generator is powered by diesel fuel, so that was a different fuel. That's why on my budget, one of the fuel prices went up. My budget asks in the future because the fuel prices went up, and plus I'm adding diesel. Only other thing that we have is for my staffing. We did go through interviews. I did pick someone. I'm not exactly sure where we sit with that because there were some changes in HR that shortly after the interviews were done. And then there's person's on vacation today, so I'm gonna go meet with the lady that's here today to find out exactly where we are for making an offer. And then I'm still hoping to have that new person in place by the end of this month, as it sits, but nothing else drastic. The parking lot was paved. I believe that was done before, since our last 2 meetings there, so. I did keep the dumpster off of there for a while, just because it still was a little soft when it got paved, is when it was 100 degrees outside, and you can still see I closed it for 3 days, but you can still see some tire marks in it from where people, when they back up and stop and then turn their wheels to go, kind of dug into it. So dumpsters out on the street, I have a permit from the city for that for the next 2 weeks. And then I'll reevaluate that if I want to put it back by then or not, so. But other than that, just be busy for the next few weeks or a few months trying to coordinate stuff between the remodel in this building and the connections of that one, so. Any questions for me?
Are you gonna, the parking lot, is there gonna be some fill dirt put in there next to?
Yeah, right where where it meets the lawn.
Where your plow is there?
Yeah, we'll take care of that here pretty soon, just to fill it up to get rid of the,
Yeah,
and then my plan at some point next year is to actually run a sidewalk in front of that where the parking lot meets the grass, but that won't be this year. But because there's gonna be people walking there anyway to try to keep them off the lawn where there's snow and everything else. But right now, it'll be filled up and leveled out, so it's not such a tripping hazard. That should be done by the end of the week.
and was your plan to have the plow and stuff put in the garage when it's all said and done?
In the sheriff's garage?
Yeah, whenever the sheriff moves out, right?
Yeah, those 4 bays will become my department's
Yeah.
storage because of I used to have that building that was I used to have a storage shed that was torn down. So right now I currently use 1 bay. Last year I used 2 because I kept 1 for the skid steer, but I'm hoping that I'm gonna have 2 back by winter because I'm gonna have to keep a skid steer in 1. But then the pickup truck that I currently have with the plow, I'll probably store in the sheriff's garage that's gonna be facing on Dewey Street. That way I can plow that out. But the 4 garage bays that are over there right now are scheduled to be mine, for storage of salt, chemicals, papers, stuff like that. And if I need to reevaluate that later, if another department needs it when the current jail is empty, then I can use some of those jail cells for storage as well. So
And so this parking lot over here will be specifically for county vehicles?
that is what I intend it to be. Once this is all said and done, that'll be where all the county vehicles stay. So right now, it's a majority of county vehicles. There's a couple of visitors that usually park in there. There's 2 handicap spots that we've made. But when this parking lot over here is open, this will just be for county vehicles only. So they're not eating up space in the public parking spot.
I got one more question. Jeremy, whenever we're talking about this stuff here, I wouldn't mind meeting with you just after you get your eyes on it, just
Yep.
give me a buzz or whatever. And
Yeah, just like I did catch Kurt on the way out to make one small change for the department that was going into the sheriff's department because of the current security. They needed to close off one of the doors that went from that department into the garages, because then that beats the one entrance, one exit purpose that you guys kind of have set up now. And then I did ask him to try to put a price on the first floor and the second floor hallways. It's just like wallpaper on the walls that are out there that's currently discontinued that you can't buy, and it's very nasty looking. You can't really paint it, can't patch it. So I just asked them to try to see what it would cost us to put sheetrock overlayment up and down the hallways. If we're gonna spruce up this building, might as well try to do the hallways as well.
The other question I had was with the administrator coming in, I'm assuming that person's gonna be sitting in the HR director's office. Have we decided anything on that?
I believe that's correct. And depending on who it is, they'll probably want to swap with the corp counsel because that corner office is way better.
Yeah,
I was just thinking, we might wanna put some forethought into that situation,
yeah, there's no provision in here for that.
Right, because we weren't thinking, or we didn't have that done before the plans went in place, so.
I'll look. I know one of the plans at one point in time, well, I guess this is when they had HR over in county clerk of court area. There was a administrator's office at that point, but I'll double check through these here over the next few days. So just shoot me an email if you want to sit down, whether it's over Zoom or face to face. Just let me know.
I just want to make sure that, we usher in a new administrator in the right way, and this is where their new digs are, and this is where you're gonna be, and we should do that right, so.
Yeah, the administrator should have a decent office and close to HR so they can work with them all the time.
It would be in HR.
Yeah, so,
Since the HR director and the county administrator are the same position, it's accounted for. But will additional staff be required in that space?
anybody have anything else for Jeremy?
Nothing else?
If not, thank you, Jeremy. Next up, employee screening policy. We touched on this a little bit with the judge. I think we decided last time, didn't you, that we were gonna have everybody go through that in the morning? Screening policy, right? That was pretty much the consensus.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting that we were just talking about, so if every employee is gonna be screened, they're gonna come through security. Unlike today, they can come in this side door over here by Quick Trip. And if it's 24 hours, what does that mean? So for example, hey, I'm gonna come to work at 7 a.m., right? That's still within the 24-hour access period, and I can still get in that door, or whatever. Is that what we wanna do? Is that what we want to allow? Or do we wanna say, well, it's 24 hours from, up until midnight or something, and then from midnight until 7:45, it's locked down. I don't know. That's something that, you get into those nitty-gritty details. How do we want to work that?
You're talking just the main door.
Well, at what point would all employees have to come in that door over here, the new door?
The new door.
I think they do. I don't think there's gonna be question there in my thinking.
So
They have to come through that door.
that door over here for Quick Trip is going to be shut down completely forever then? And you'll never.
Well, if they-
ever-
It would be a fire exit, alarmed fire
Yeah.
exit.
Is that-
As it
that's the
sits
plan?
right now, it was January 8th, whatever it is, that the new building's supposed to be open to
You
the
can go
public.
out, but you can't come back in it.
Right.
That was how it was
Well,
designed.
Well,
which
that's
quick, not that Quick Trip door, the one that's current.
Right.
Are you talking the new one? Because there's gonna
The
be the
new
new
one.
one. That one you can, as it's written, right? You
Right.
can exit,
Right.
but can't come back in.
What's
But
the
the
new one?
current, that's
The new one that's right,
the
right where
new one
the
where the new building.
meets.
It's by
Where the main entrance will be.
Yeah, you know where you come in the main entrance? There's a door directly.
Straight
Yeah,
up.
so right now, every current door though that's on this building, the entrance that you came in, the Quick Trip side door, the ones that lead to the quad, will all have an alarm next year. There'll be fire exits
So
only.
nobody will be able to come in those doors ever, including after hours.
That's
Correct.
That's
Okay.
as it sits
Ever,
right
right.
now, correct. You will be required to come in the main entrance, but you can leave through the door that's at the main entrance that now goes out, will go out to Quick Trip, but you cannot return.
So I guess then that's the answer is, if anybody wants to come in the building after hours, regardless of what after hours means, it's that new entrance.
Main entrance.
Period.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Well, they're gonna be parking out there anyway,
Yeah,
after
they'll be
hours,
parking
they're
there.
gonna park right next to the doors, so it's fairly convenient.
And we'll have security if somebody's holding the door, we'll know that, right? And
Yeah.
letting people in, that,
Like for the
The quick trip
The
door.
one quick trip door, yeah. 'cause
Yeah,
the
they'll
deputies-
see
the
that from
deputies will be
screening.
right there.
Yeah, so that's not gonna happen, or if it does,
But they can check it frequently, make sure there's nothing locked.
Yeah, the new door that exits to the north at the main entrance is within eye line of the deputies that are watching the front.
so the quick trip visit has to come back around to get back in.
Correct.
It's
Once you're over there for-
exercise initiative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
You
I
get
talked,
10,000 steps in, you have to go that far anyway, at least, yeah.
and I talked to Mark at the front desk, he said, you know, you can see when they do go out, and they'll have cameras on there anyway, so that, you know, they won't be able to come in, but at least he'll be able to see who's sleeping.
Yeah.
And make sure, keep an eye on it, so. So that's the general consensus,
Yes.
that everybody has to come in.
So that all
No.
makes sense, and that'll be part of the policy then, right? That
Yep.
That's what we're doing. Then the only other thing to ask is when we write that policy up, that department heads must have to approve through Jeremy's security setup, who gets what after hours time. And then how much, what do you get? Do you give them all the way through the night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., or do we cut it off at midnight, or do we cut it off at 1 a.m. or 10 p.m.?
Well, I guess in order to create the policy, you're going to need to set the framework for what constitutes regular hours. If the sheriff is agreeing that he's going to have deputies, if he's going to stagger them, and they're going to start at 7 and end at 5, then I would recommend you match policy to that a majority of workers be set for access to the front 7 to 5. And then if you're outside those hours, you could have by policy, the department head has to fill out a form and submit it to Jeremy and get signed off on, so that those people that are coming in or potentially need access after hours have been on file and know what the rules are.
But what's after hours times?
7 or 5 p.m. to 7 a.m.
I'm just throwing, I'm not
No,
being
I-
argumentative, I'm just saying, do we want to say that someone can come in at 2 a.m. in the morning, or?
Well, I think it'd be nice if, Jeremy, if we got that list of people who do use it at night. And remember, we got the security to stop somebody from coming back in when everybody's here. After 6 o'clock, there ain't nobody here. You know, so you don't need as much security. You should be able to badge in if you're an employee, even if you're disgruntled, there's nobody here.
But do we want to say that?
And he can only get
I
in
mean,
so
like
many
I said,
apartments in the
I
morning
can-
is
I
okay.
can look at the trend, but for the most part, like, if someone's coming in at 2 a.m., it's probably a social worker, because they're here on an emergency call for whatever, for kids or something like that. They're the ones that I see here the most, other than IT, other than maintenance, other than law enforcement. Everyone else that comes in on the weekend, it's, like I said, it's someone from the judge's office that's either coming to get the records that she needs to type up for whatever she needs to do. Or it's because Sam forgot her phone in her office and she comes back on Friday, you know. It's,
Those
that's,
things that happen.
but that's the stuff that, like I said, if you're gonna set something like that deep in stone with times, that's something that I'm gonna need to know before probably November, because I'm gonna have to change or sit down with the programmers for that access system and set it up one way and then change the way that this building works, because that's 2 different control systems that I have to set up separately.
So that's another question. If your office is not in the new building, do we want to give people the same access to that building as this building?
They're gonna have to, because they have to get
They have to
into
get
that
in.
door to get into this building.
Ah, okay.
And access policy is the easy part. I believe it's your intent that all employees are screened, because they're currently not screened.
From in normal business hours.
Yes.
Right.
During normal business hours, they are not screened. And they can't be screened after hours, even under the new policy, because you're not going to be staffing that front desk after hours. So if you provide after-hours access, they will go through unscreened.
So you might as well just let them keep using the badge.
That's not what I'm saying. I just need to know, since I'm probably going to be the one creating this policy, have you decided that all employees are going to be screened?
Yes.
That's what we
Okay.
kind of agreed to it, yeah. At the
Okay.
last meeting,
I just
thought
needed
that's
to
what-
know.
Majority agreed to, but I think we had talked about, Didn't we talk about having, there's like a separate door that you could go in as an employee to badge yourself in during normal business hours, or no?
No, there was a possibility of just going out that exit to Quick Trip, but then having to come back around.
No, he's talking, Dave's
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about, we
oh,
said
there's a
that where you
bypass.
screened, there was gonna be another door alongside that where employees could just badge through.
No, I think what you're
And we said,
referring
I
to
think
was
we
the
shot that
access
down.
that I gave for the visiting
I think-
judges. Because there's a separate door where the
No,
visiting
no,
judges
we
are
never
coming.
talked
No,
about that.
we talked, no, this was right at the main
No,
gate we talked about.
It was a
Nick was right,
bypass. It
Yeah.
was the bypass.
I know what you're talking about.
It was another door
But that's not what we're
Where
talking
this,
about right now.
where the metal detector would be, there was a door to the
We're
side.
talking
We
about
had
employees.
talked
There is
about
no-
of letting
Right.
employees badge in.
Exactly, so.
But I think we agreed
We
to
eliminate that.
require everybody go be screened
Yeah. It's not
and just
that big of a
eliminate
hassle.
that.
There's a big entryway there. Is this?
When you got 60 people coming in at the same time,
It's gonna be an issue.
it's gonna be an issue.
But they can adjust. I mean,
I'm just spelling it out. 8 o'clock in the morning around here is gonna get really weird.
Well, what's the alternative? Do you have one?
If you make them pass through the metal detector and screen them, that's fine. But for people with bags and whatnot, it's gonna slow the process down. So either,
You almost have to have that, we've got 2 people now that will be out here at times. You almost need 2 people there in the morning from say from 7:30
Talk to the
until.
sheriff about that.
I-
But two people, it doesn't matter, only one person can go through the scanner at once.
exactly.
Well,
So
but that-
I think
that's-
what you need to do is you need to set the policy, and then we need to give it a go, and let's see what happens.
That's what I wanna do.
And if it gets to be where you've got people screaming bloody murder, then you'll have to readdress it. But
Maybe.
because you don't want to create a situation where violence is coming into play just because you're trying to prevent violence.
that's what we're trying.
Is anybody really that eager to get into their office? Come on.
I think most people are gonna be smart enough to come and work a little bit earlier so they don't have to avoid the mad rush, but
There
I
are
don't know.
lots
I mean,
of
after
other
a couple
counties that do
days,
it.
my
Yeah.
jewelry's
It's
gonna be in my case and it's gonna go, I would have to assume, right?
Yeah, if you're gonna do TSA level, stand and do the business and all that and take your shoes off, yes, it'll create a problem. I think you're gonna be fine. I wanted to let you know that is gonna be an issue.
I'm just suggesting that after we roll this out, if that's the direction we're going, we might want to be prepared to have some other turnstile type thing, for employees only. Everybody else goes here, type of situation. That may be a logical improvement to the process if it's a problem. So-
Is there a side door that's gonna be built into this as you come in? This bypass?
I think we're overplaying it myself.
But
I still think when
I believe there
you're gonna
is.
have your
there
bag
is-
and you're gonna go through,
I
and it's
believe there
not
is
gonna
a-
take that long. It
I
really
believe there is a bypass
Once you
because
prepare
it's
yourself.
required by ADRC.
Say that again?
I believe there is a bypass because of ADRC.
Oh,
For
sure.
seniors to be able to go through.
Sure.
Some just cannot go through one of those detectors.
Sure, so the,
They
so
still
Metal
around
hips
it,
and
but
whatnot.
you're still gonna go through security.
You're
still
going
gonna
through
go
security, but
there.
you're not necessarily passing through the metal
yeah,
detector.
yeah, so there may be some options if we need to modify that.
Right.
I'm not opposed to starting off on a little more strict,
Yeah.
and then we can always let up if we need to.
And that's fine. I just need to know which direction to go
That's
for
right.
shaping the policy.
Well, so, what do you guys want to set anything here, or do you want to move on? Or-
I think the question is, we were saying we're gonna leave that on there until we have it finalized,
Yeah.
so we're not gonna be able to talk about it next month, because
Right,
department head's
because
not
we
gonna
want-
meet till after our meeting.
I'm creating the policy now. So I can email you it once I have a draft, and then once the new corp council starts October 2nd, you can get that finalized, and then, yeah, the department heads would have to meet and have their input on who needs access after hours and how that's gonna work.
Oh,
But
okay. Well,
the
that
policy can move forward.
Works for me,
works. That's good.
Yes.
works for me.
So we'll
Yeah,
have it on the next agenda to review and
And we might have-
approve.
And I think, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, Jeremy might have a differing opinion, but from my standpoint, the extra meetings that you did to get this stuff moving on the old building remodel and the connections and all that stuff that we thought was languishing, It appears we're moving in the right direction now, and so I don't know that you need to meet every 2 weeks during this process. You could probably go back to just meeting at a regular time next month. But it's your decision. If you want to stay on top of this stuff and you don't feel you're getting enough information, you can meet in a couple weeks too.
I don't know, I think having meetings, especially when you're getting this close, things are gonna come up. You be looking at this, you have some questions. I don't know if we can get Kurt here for it, or do you guys want this? Up to you guys.
I
mean,
wouldn't mind leaving it just until we get through that next one, and then see from there.
So have 1 to 2 weeks,
Yeah. And
Okay.
then see, you
and
know.
then see after that, maybe you're right. But if you can put that policy together and get it out to all of us, that'd be good. Then we can look at it, and in 2 weeks, we could talk about it.
I'll use my genie powers.
Okay. All right. Discussion on, anything else on that, you guys? If not, discussion on meeting room policy and security. This is kind of, this is another thing we've been putting off too. Are we gonna allow anybody to use the meeting rooms? How many people use them now?
No, only 4-H, maybe, Fairbury. That's it. Never used it in the last like 3 years.
There's older ladies that go down to the Packer room every few months. Got like quilts or something down there.
Recently?
So they've been here the past 6 months. There's a group of them down there like knitting. Maybe they just show up.
They don't reserve a room.
Maybe they just
so-
show up and sit in the room.
Yeah, they just, I don't know how they get in.
And the 4-H, that's after
Well, this
hours?
is during business hours,
Oh.
is when they're here, so.
4-H
They don't
is
reserve
after, right?
Yeah,
4-H is after hours?
yeah.
So, what do you guys wanna do with that?
And right now, it's been like, so if there's this staff member or county board member, then no one's here for security. Like for the fair board, it's Kellen, and then 4-H, it's Andrea or one of.
Well, Fairbourn's also Lincoln too,
Yeah.
someone from the sheriff's department.
I'm listening. Anybody have anything they wanna?
Our policy now is working, right?
We haven't had any issues.
Besides ladies showing up without
The only snafu I can see in this is when this new building is open, on what rooms you're gonna want available to be reserved. Because you'll have the one that's the emergency operations center that's off of the sheriff's department. The rest of them will be behind. They're, unless they're smaller conference rooms that are outside of the courtrooms, they're not meeting rooms. All the rest of them are gonna be in this building.
They can still use the Packer room and all the.
Yeah,
and the
so if
old
it's
building.
after hours, then I'll just need to make arrangements, because I'll have to go through a set of locked doors to
To
get
get
to the Packer room, which is in the basement of the south basement of this building.
Right.
I don't think you can address which rooms are gonna be available until you've gone through this remodel document to find out how, because you wanna be able to secure parts of the building from, you don't want people passing, just wandering around the building wherever they feel like it. You'd like it to be so that they come in and they know which room they're going to, and there's a direct line to it, and then you're done. Opening up the entire facility to get them at a particular office space is gonna be a bit of a headache. So we don't know where the security points are going to be in this building until Jeremy's had a chance to go through this. So I think you could table this. The world isn't going to
That's
come to
kinda
an
what I was-
end if we don't
that's
have
what I
a
was
meeting room
suggesting,
policy until sometime next summer. I mean,
We could leave the policy as it exists right now and revisit this once the new building's up and we'd have an idea of what the remodel's gonna
What
look
the
like.
rooms are gonna be,
Yeah.
right.
And how we can get people to them or which ones we can get them to. Yeah.
There's no reason why someone couldn't make a special request for a room and we figure it out for them. It's the ones that have an ongoing every Tuesday, every whatever that, we don't have any of those, right? We
Right.
don't.
This entire remodel and building is never set up to provide public space after hours.
Right.
Several years ago, we looked at adding a jail section on to where the parking lot for the employees is now. And there was a plan at that time to have meeting rooms in the basement of that new building, which would have a separate access and separate bathrooms. So the only access was to that space. But there is no effort being made here to provide after-hours meeting space. There really isn't. So
It'd be nice
you
to
know,
have an isolated area where they could just.
yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, so that was not a priority when these plans were drawn up.
The
So,
the easiest room to isolate would be the new county boardroom
yes, absolutely.
and that lobby next to it.
Yes. And that's not the best place for just, I don't know. You know, I guess it would work for a meeting, you know, depending on what kind of meeting it is and so forth.
Well, I would hope it would work for a meeting. It's a
Well,
boardroom.
Yeah, the only other ones I could think of offhand looking, I'd have to look at how the security access is, but the ones that are gonna be on the second floor where child support currently is, right across from where the county clerk's
Okay.
office will be. There'll be 2 rooms over there, and I can see them, I just don't know what the access is. I'll have to deepen, you know, if
Yeah,
that's gonna be a
that would
separate-
probably be more what Dick's thinking of, something a little
Yeah,
smaller
because
that would be a
currently,
more
like,
intimate
2 years
space.
ago, you used to be able to come in the door number 4, which is where the jail after-hours visitors, and they could get to the Packer room or the Trempealeau
Oh,
room, which
okay.
is where the Boy Scouts or the 4-H and stuff used to meet. But
Yeah.
that's gonna be non-existent. So these would probably be the easiest ones if I can get those security doors and the connection to be their own access. So I can grant access to just that.
Yeah.
But again, that's something that we're gonna have to wait
Yeah.
and see.
Yeah, so my suggestion would be to just table this until more information is had and
Right.
where we said, hey, we really need to adjust our current policy. Otherwise, right
Yeah.
now, it's working.
Sounds good to me. Okay, next up, department minimum needs. I don't quite know what that is.
I don't know.
I don't know what, I
I just live here.
Apartment minimum needs?
needs, that's what it is. Dan made this up, I don't know, he
What?
did. So I can't think of anything from the last.
Move on.
Okay, the next is, since we have no idea. Next one is 12, timeline of department moves in the new building. We kind of talked about that already.
Yeah.
I think. With Kurt and I think with the judge, everybody's pretty much on board of where we're going.
Right.
So along those lines, we talked about the courts and that department. But what about the other departments that are,
So, as of right now, kind of how it sits, and this will be discussed on Wednesday at the next meeting. As of right now, the plan is they will all move that first week in January. It's just dependent on computer, being able to access the computers in the new building. Will they work? Because is everything gonna be set up at that time? That's mostly what we're kind of waiting on.
so the plan is to have everybody who's gonna be in the new building,
Yep.
working by January 8th.
January 8th would be open to the public, everyone would be over in the new building. Like that week and weekend is kind of where we're looking right now to move everyone.
So how is that gonna work with security, Jeremy? I mean, we're gonna have to dismantle that and
Yeah, that's,
move it over.
we already plan on being here that weekend, whether it's to help. A lot of the departments may need some stuff, but like judge's office, it's just gonna be personal belongings, blah, blah, blah. But we're here to move the security stuff that needs to be, plus the x-ray machine that's currently there. I have a plethora of other parts that didn't fit in that little room that are waiting to be built when it moves to this new location.
So it's just a few pieces over here that'll have to move over.
Yeah, there's the walkthrough, and then the x-ray machine itself will be shifting over that weekend by my staff to all the places. It's already set up,
Yeah.
ready to go.
Stands to reason that there would be some sort of a communication and a move schedule published for everybody, so not only the people working here, they all know what's happening, but the general public are gonna know that, hey, on this date, no longer come in this door. We should have signs, temporary signs or something put up, arrows.
We
We
discussed
kind
that.
of talked about that. The problem is until we know for sure that that is going to be, obviously, we're not gonna publish anything out there until we know for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, that we're just talking about, okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, we definitely have talked about that to make sure the public is in the know once that, so they know where to go on January 8th.
I would imagine then we would need to have some sort of a communication in the paper, or how are we going to let the public know?
Is there,
Part of-
is there a directory right in the entryway, so it
There's
says,
gonna be,
yeah, second
that has
floor,
every,
first floor, this, yeah,
for
okay.
the whole entire building,
Right,
actually. since
because when
it's
they
one
come through there,
entrance.
they're gonna be lost, you
Yeah,
know.
we actually just met on that as well.
We did, good, that's
Um,
good.
That's in the works right now. But until this building was finalized, we didn't know how that directory is. It's not finalized because we don't know what departments are on what floor in this building.
A lot needs to happen in the next 4
Yeah.
months, really. I mean, and if,
And they're looking to finalize that now, but we can't.
I think we should just be talking about these kinds of things through the next 3-4 meetings so that we're all
Yeah.
on the same page.
As long as, yeah, get something so people make sure
The
that
main thing is
they
that-
don't complain because they don't know, they got a new building, they don't know where nothing is,
We
and
have
no
to have
arrows or.
Heads up on that January 8th before, at least a month ahead, so
Yeah.
people know that they're gonna have to come through that door. And at that time, like you say, we better have a directory there or somebody that's sitting there that'll know where to go, right?
Yeah, so they can see, left is the courts, left is the jail, right is the ARD or C or whatever, and all the other.
directory honestly probably will just get changed, is my guess. It's gonna be one directory when the doors open, and then once the remodeling happens, the directory's
right.
gonna have to get
Because
changed.
everyone's
It'll be in
because
flux.
Remodeling isn't
they'll
gonna be done
moving.
until next
Right.
year at this time, right? Or-
Yeah,
Yeah, but just to
Probably
get the
start out
people to
with
the
just a
courts,
sign
I
that
think
says
is
good
important.
luck. and
Courts and jail, that's gonna be the most
I
important
do
one.
know that Kurt Schleicher has brought up that the board is gonna have to decide if there's gonna be some sort of grand opening, day. That's something that the county's gonna have to decide on.
Could we look at the possibility of electronic signage to start things out so that you can just change it whenever you
Change
need
it.
to?
Get us a price. Well, that isn't you.
They're pretty
If you can
cheap on
figure out how to do
Amazon.
that, that'd be great, cause we'd like that outside the courtrooms.
Well, there's supposed to be a TV in that lobby outside the courtrooms for just that, so you could post your schedule and which room is
Yeah,
what.
where's that connected to and who's doing that, because
There's cable
that's not.
and Ethernet going to those locations, so we just have to provide the TV and the programming.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
That'd be nice.
Well, we board members maybe need to take our time, take our turn coming in and directing traffic for the first week or two. Once we learn where things are.
Okay.
It's like
Well-
hospital greeters.
Yeah.
That's right,
Welcome to the county.
that's
we're
right.
all, hey, we go and work for Walmart.
But I'm half serious, you know, it
Politicians,
sounds
yeah, get your
funny,
face
but
on
I'm
it.
half
I
serious.
think it's a great idea.
You know, this is, you know, our citizenry aren't happy about paying for the building, but we certainly want to, you know, welcome them into the building there.
The batteries are failing.
Oh,
I had to pull one.
Oh,
The one next to him's lit up. So.
okay. Anyway,
all right. Okay, anybody else have anything else? If not, items for the next agenda, we said we're gonna leave Kurt Samuel's group will be on. IT and maintenance again. Well, we should have the screening policy and everything there, put those back on. And 9 and 10 you must keep on. I can't think of anything, anybody have anything else that they'd want to see on there? If not, Ooh.
I have a question, two things quick, actually. If I could request, could we move the security thing up before?
Oh,
Just because
So
the
you're
judge can only
saying
ever be here until
Right,
9.
that's
He
no-
plans on coming here every meeting, but only till 9.
okay. That should be easily done, yeah, no problem.
And then is there gonna be something on your agenda for this building department meeting that we meet every month to report back to you, or how do you want that done from us?
Well, it'd be nice to hear what the departments say and what their opinion is on, or they might have some good ideas that we never thought of either.
You're talking about an agenda item.
Or just a
Yeah.
report, you're saying from you guys.
Well, I think,
The department heads that are moving over there meet every month, and they're kind of the ones that are setting the schedule of the move and all that. That committee is what I'm talking about. We don't really have a name.
Oh,
Would it be a good idea to have that committee come address this committee
Or a
Just-
representative of that committee.
or a representative, any? I mean,
Well, we're all free on it. We're always here,
That one on
but
Wednesday, that one on Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Who else is on it?
The department head of every
Oh, everybody
department that's
over.
moving over
Yeah.
there, including IT and maintenance.
well, and I think they can also indicate some of the issues they've been addressed, because you had some questions about things, and then you addressed them, once. But to kind of share that, because otherwise, we don't know, that some of these things are being addressed, and if you could maybe share that with the
Yeah,
group.
that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just throwing some things out there that
Sure.
have come to mind, but I'm sure you guys have come up with 100 other things, and
Yeah.
maybe there's or
We
maybe it's
could
better
bring-
just to report.
We can bring it up
just to-
on Wednesday and ask the committee if there's things that they want to be brought back to here to you.
Or just-
Maybe it's just a write up bullet points. Here's the things that we've addressed. Here's the things we still have yet to decide, and here's things we might need help from this committee to help you decide. Maybe.
what your concerns are, what their concerns
Kurt
are. what-
Schleicher does an agenda and takes notes, but I don't know, he's never given those to us, he just has it himself. We've gotten agendas, but I've never seen.
I never
those.
seen it like them.
Yeah.
Minutes.
That's
Yeah.
fine, see
Are we
that.
just
Almost
gonna be
done.
back in a month? Is
Well, you want to come back in 2 weeks, we said, because on the 25th, that would be, if we came back in 2 weeks, just to stay up on,
think we want to do?
is that what you guys want to do? It's up to you.
What didn't we already scheduled that, right?
We had talked about every 2 weeks until we get through this. Yeah, 'cause it'll-
If we start our budget hearing, the week, that'll give us another day to keep
That's
that.
county board day too.
That's okay.
That's why.
Is that okay with anybody, or you want to pick a different date? Don't bother me, but
You could probably do a quick meeting before the county
If
board
we didn't
meeting.
do it the
Well, let's not
25th,
be
it's
ridiculous.
October,
9th.
Well, if we do the 25th, yeah, can't we do that at
You could
6:30
eat and type.
We could do
I
it,
don't wanna see that.
before the meeting, the county?
well, the
meeting?
meeting's at 7, so we should do it probably let's have it at 6. 6?
That works.
Yeah, 6.
Start, have it at 6.
Rack up so much content, I love it.
Okay.
Okay, see you, Doc.
see everybody.
We'll see you, Doc.
All right. Seeing that we've gotten through all 15 items on the
Are we
agenda?
But we're saying that we're going to meet on the 9th
25th?
of October as well?
The regular meeting.
That's a regular meeting, yep.
If the agenda that you just created now is for the September 25th, I know
Yeah, what
the
do you
judge
want
will
me
not
to
be
do?
here, he's in another county doing a trial, and he probably will not get back here.
Yeah. so
Well,
on
put-
the
you
same
can put the
agenda
judge-
items
you
on
put
the
the-
25th.
On the 9th meeting, we'll put the judge back on the
Well,
way
we're on
up.
the 25th, we go over the
25th,
agenda items for the
we
25th.
want, for the 25th, we want, Tim, can you be
No.
here?
I want to interject something. He said you have a week to look over these plans, and then he's putting out the bids. So maybe you want to meet next week.
They're at Fidel's.
But he said we didn't have to have that material to him until early in October.
Yeah, he puts the bids out, but they don't come back until, what did he say, October 19th? They don't come back to the 19th. did they?
Yeah, I thought he said like by the 4th, 5th, or
Yeah.
if you had questions.
So, yeah, so we'll be okay.
October 4th is when they have to get back to him.
Okay, so if you discover something obvious, do you want to just email, do we have them email you or email me
Or both.
or both? And then we could forward it on to Kurt, or do you want to go direct to Kurt? But you'd have to CC us on it so we know what you discovered.
You mean for that meeting? What are you talking about now?
For these.
For this,
for the plans, you
this
mean?
design.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you've got a week before he's putting the bid out, and if there's something glaring, you might as well have him correct it right away.
Well, I don't think you pointed out to him now, something,
there's a
I don't know if
there's
he'll
a few
change
things
it.
that I
or
saw right away,
He might
but-
put an alternate bid in there, but I don't know if they change much in there. I think there's something you could bring to his attention, and he could maybe throw it in as an alternate bid, because they're not gonna change the plans in,
It's not gonna be a massive change.
no.
Okay,
But-
well, I'm just trying
If
to
you
come
see
up with a
anything, yeah.
process so that you're aware of what's going on. And I would recommend emailing all the other property committee members and Jeremy and myself at the same time you do anything. And then that way we're keeping in touch.
I think for the meeting in 2 weeks, we could
This
stick
could be
mostly
a-
with the bill, like the screening thing, the meeting policy.
I think
Those are two of the big things we should.
this should be a good time
And-
also if we found some things that on here.
So, okay. 25th, you want Samuel's group, do you want Kurt here? That's the next question.
He already will have needed to submit this
Right,
out for bid
right,
before that meeting.
right.
So I don't know what we'll be talking about when it comes to.
Okay, so taking him off, correct?
Right, he has to be here.
Meeting room
Well-
policy,
Meeting room policy,
IT update, no. Yes?
No.
no,
Maintenance
My-
update, no.
no, just
My suggestion is that
Employee
we,
screening.
screening.
Building
And
update, we have to have some conversation about that. That's the main reason you're
Well,
meeting.
The what?
That's one of the primary reasons we're meeting.
Yeah.
So if Jeremy and I have something we need to share with you about the building, we can do it then.
And then, is the Ashley committee coming that day, or is Ashley gonna present her stuff that night? No, that's gonna be the following one.
That'll be the October 9th meeting.
We will more than likely not be here, if maybe remote, on the 25th, but not in person.
So then,
But on the 9th, the judge will be here. He'll be able to make that one.
so then the 25th, do you want it here in the county boardroom, because then you're gonna have every other committee member in here, or county board member in here that comes early, or do you want it in Wisconsin?
let's go in the Wisconsin room. But this might be also an item for agenda, is if there are any observations that anybody has made in regards to possible changes, because though the bids go out, I heard Kurt say that if they had that information, early before, well, by the end of the month, it would be useful. So if you see a need, well, you brought up the idea of the space for the administrator. That certainly should be considered. But it's not going to be a major one necessarily, I don't think. Unless they want a complete suite with
It's my understanding that based on the recommendation from the previous corp counsel, that an assistant corp counsel is not going to be requested at this time. So that office there is available, so there's an extra office up in HR, plus the HR director office is technically the county administrator, because it's county administrator / HR director, so there already is an office and a
Should be okay.
reception area for that person. But if there was gonna be staff added, or you were gonna migrate more people underneath that person's purview, yeah, you wanna make sure you have enough space in that future planning or whatever, so that you can accommodate that.
Is everybody comfortable with what's on the?
So
Yeah.
4-H is in the Wisconsin room on the 25th at 6 o'clock, so now where do you want to go?
Yeah, gee.
Right here.
How about the pack?
We'll be done in a half hour.
Yeah, this ain't gonna take long.
It's a bold plan, Cotton, let's see if it pays off.
We will be done.
Yeah, this way we can't go over.
We'll shut the doors. Closed session.
yeah. We'll close the
All right,
door.
we good?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.